Question number 4, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Speaker, this question is to the Prime Minister and asks, does he stand by all his statements? If so, how?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, yes, and in so many ways.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Does he stand by his statement that, and I quote him, immigration settings were about right and the Auckland housing market would take care of itself, end of quotes? If so, is he satisfied with 34,000 new migrants moving to Auckland each year, adding more pressure on demand for housing, education, health and infrastructure?
Mr. Speaker.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Prime Minister, if he truly doesn't want New Zealanders to become, in his words, tenants in their own country, said in a campaign, of course, then why did his government let immigration get so out of control that so many young New Zealand families today are going to be tenants and not owners of their homes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
It's not.
Did he say snot? He said snot. Did he say snot?
Order.
Oh. Supplementary question, Speaker.
Order. Order.
Well,
I'll just assist the member. Supplementary question, Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Speaker, well, it's yellow, it's your colour.
Order. Just can we have the
Supplementary question. Since he announced his government's policy for migrants to settle outside of Auckland last year, why have more visa applications for skilled migrants gone to Auckland rather than the regions?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, because many of those people will be working in areas that will help what is the construction boom happening in Auckland, and so they'll be involved in that area. But, Mr. Speaker, if one takes an objective look at the net migration numbers, they reflect a number of areas. They are largely the Kiwis not leaving or Kiwis coming home. They are people on working holidays, or they are students. And I think most New Zealanders would see that as a pretty good thing.
Supplementary question, Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Prime Minister, why has Immigration New Zealand got rid of its verification teams with respect to skilled migrant applications? Why was it disbanded in April of 2015 with a 20% performance record and 80% not looked at all?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the member would have to ask the Minister of Immigration.
Order. Question. Supplementary question?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Well, point. What is it?
It's a point of order.
Point of order. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave to table an Immigration New Zealand paper to New Zealand First, setting out what's gone wrong with the process.
Order. The last
today's
part
questions.
won't help. It's an Immigration New Zealand paper sent to New Zealand First. Leave sought to table it. Is there any objection? There is none. It can be tabled. Question number 5.